I have been playing so much Battlebit Remastered since it came out. I've really enjoyed being a little Call of Duty gremlin like I'm 12 years old again. And in case you hadn't heard, this game is doing extremely well for what looks like Roblox Battlefield. And yeah, the thing you're gonna notice are these character models, but this game gets pretty goofy and honestly, it fits. It helps that the first-person weapon animations are exactly what I want from a game like this. The kind of stuff you'd see on r/high-quality reloads. The game is obviously heavily inspired by Battlefield. Huge maps with huge teams fighting over objectives using mixed infantry and vehicle combat and character classes that affect stats, weapons, and equipment that you have access to. Notably, this game goes up to 127 players per team, which is wild, and squads go up to 8. Squads of 8 feel like a complete improvement over Battlefield. It gives you more places to spawn in after you die, and if the squad is coordinating, it can make it easier for a single squad to make a real impact. Battlebit is no milsim. Movement is quick and smooth, and weapon handling is snappy. If you're used to playing modern competitive shooters, you'll be able to adjust to it pretty quickly. But this game is much more focused on being chaotic and casual. Getting killed isn't really a big deal, because anybody can revive you if you're down, and medic healing is extremely powerful. It's genuinely surprising how much content there is in this game. A bunch of maps, modes, guns, and customization options for those guns. Progression through the unlocks does feel slower than normal, but they did release a patch to address this, and I intend on spending a ton of time in this game, so I don't mind. And it's not like the starting guns are bad or anything. The M4 is probably the best gun in the game. I just get the impression that the developers wanted to make a cool experience above all else. My favorite thing in this game so far has been game chat, honestly. It's such a fun community of people, and anybody who gets too mad gets largely ignored. Hearing guys call out medic when they need help is such a balm to the soul coming from sweaty, toxic competitive shooters.
Don't die, you have like 8 people hanging on in the fucking
Yeah, help us! Holy shit!
There's just such a fun atmosphere in every server I join. People are actually talking to each other. It also has death comms, which is where you can hear enemies you recently killed or if they recently killed you.
And it happened again!
This game is just so casual and fun, and voice chatter is very important. These environments aren't exactly AAA, but the flat, untextured ground and walls help out with readability. It's really easy to see everything that you actually need to see. You're obviously not going to mistake this footage for Battlefield or Arma, but the game is genuinely so fun that it doesn't matter. It's not like it looks bad or anything either. I really like the clean aesthetic the maps have. They've made some really nice color palette choices that create compelling landscapes to look at as you run across the maps. The only real issue I have with the visuals is the explosion effect. It can sometimes be hard to see that an explosion has happened or is happening, which makes explosive weapons not as fun to use as they could be, and dying to explosives is more frustrating than it needs to be, because you may not even realize what killed you. Just a few extra frames of visibility for the fireball and some light smoke effects, or maybe a simple ground decal indicating where the blast scorched the ground and walls around it. Just something to better indicate that an explosion happened. The game is in early access, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the things they're working on. Every weapon has a satisfying weight to how it handles that feels appropriate for each individual gun. For those of us who played way too much of these types of games when times were simpler, running at full speed with an SMG or trying to control the recoil of a Kalashnikov at range feels exactly like it should. It's also notable that this game uses real-world names and models for the available guns. For one reason or another, a lot of the big AAA multiplayer shooters have been shying away from that kind of thing the last few years. In talking about this game with a friend, I realized that games like Modern Warfare and Bad Company 2 taught me a lot more than I thought they did about modern military weapons. I'm not really into real guns, but I know way too much about these guns and their history from the games that Battlebit takes its heaviest inspirations from. Maybe I should have learned how to change my own oil or do my taxes. Assault rifles have an appropriate amount of power and recoil that keeps them from completely dominating. SMGs are quick and light, but feel like water guns at anything but close range. And snipers ask that you take your time to line up shots and are almost unusable in close quarters. Now, this is nothing wild or groundbreaking, obviously, but the execution of this weapon sandbox is just so good that I have to mention it. As you use a gun more and more, you level it up and unlock attachments and cosmetic camos for it. Again, nothing crazy, but there's just so much here, and it's all done so well. Oh, also, it has that handgun sprint pose that I just really like for some reason. Vehicles are, with the current balancing, really fun to play around, both with and against. They have the ability to completely dominate an area, but are big and unwieldy enough to give the players on foot an actual chance. Not giving those in vehicles the option to move to a third-person camera allows you to get into like a tank's blind spot and plant C4 in a way that would be completely impossible if they had a more complete view of what was going on around them. Transport vehicles can act as a spawn point for a team so long as they aren't too close to an objective, allowing for really aggressive tactics if the team can actually agree on what point they need to take and hold. Ooh, this is my favorite part of every match. Everybody gets in a car at the beginning and forgets how to drive all at once.
What the fuck? Get off the road!
All of the buildings and structures are totally destructible, and they fall apart in such varied and satisfying ways. Having holes punched in walls or entire buildings is so fun to play around. Sightlines or entire vehicle routes can be created and destroyed at any moment, which keeps repeated matches on the same maps feeling fresh. Thankfully, most of the walls and buildings are extremely weak to car. This game does a great job of conveying the scale of buildings around the maps, which makes it scary and satisfying to watch something huge topple over in real time. It can really change how the map plays for the rest of the game, and it seems to be balanced out really well. I just really wanted to talk about this game. I'm obviously really enjoying it and just want to contribute to the collective conversation we're all having about how good this is. It's kind of shocking, given the variety of content and the polish present, that they're only asking for $15 for this thing. That certainly does explain how well it's sold and how it's maintained its player base so far. It really puts all of the big multiplayer shooters to shame in some aspects. It's nice to have a great game like this that doesn't have the catches or pain points that basically every one of its competitors has. And yeah, I call them competitors because it is good enough to directly compete with COD and Battlefield, and the player count would suggest that, at least on Steam, it's holding its own just fine. Oh yeah, also it's made by 3 people. Wait, what?